Welcome to Dropping In, a podcast of storytelling and interviews with your host, Winter Olympian Mercedes Nichol.
Thank you so much for dropping in today. This is Series 7, where I get to talk to some amazing athletes that have wild, amazing stories. You're going to be inspired. These are Team Canada's Paralympians, all on Series 7 of Dropping In. Now, this is episode 67. Let me introduce the guest that we will be dropping in with today. Our guest just missed out on the 2014 Sochi Winter Olympic Games as a brakeman, or do we say brakewoman? I'm not sure, for bobsled due to a torn hamstring. After recovery from that injury, she looked into being a bobsled pilot. But in a matter of months, she was on to a new sport in the velodrome, competing internationally as a cyclist. Winning 2 medals at the 2015 Pan American Games, silver in the sprint, and clocking a Pan Am record, grabbing the gold in team sprint. The next year, she was racing at the 2016 Rio Olympics. Yes, I said Olympics, not Paralympics. In 2017, she was in a training accident, leaving her unable to walk, talk, or breathe unassisted. She had suffered a severe head injury, and doctors said she would never be able to take part in sports again. Now, we kind of know what happens when doctors say no to athletes like us. She was now diagnosed as epileptic, and she didn't take no for an answer. She was welcomed by the Canadian paracycling team, where she set a new world record in the C4 500-meter sprint at the ICU Paracycling Track Championships, winning gold and setting a world record in the 200-meter time trial. She represented Team Canada at the 2020 Summer Paralympics, bringing home silver. This daughter, bobsledder, cyclist, Olympian, Pan America champion, world record breaker, Paralympic medalist, does not take no for an answer. Let me introduce Kate O'Brien. Was that a lot?
Hi.
Was that a lot?
You say it in such a way, yeah, you really do make me sound way more impressive than I am.
You are impressive. You don't say no. And I love that about athletes. Like, the doctors say, you can't do this. And you're like, let's just stay positive here. Things are going to happen. You amaze me.
The doctors really didn't like that so much.
Yeah,
They were
I
like,
believe it.
Clearly you hit your head. Yeah.
So funny. All right, Kate, are you ready to drop in? We've got 10 rapid fire questions that are never rapid. Are you ready?
I am ready. I'm a sprinter.
Okay.
We're
Number
born
1.
ready.
I love it. You are a sprinter. Number 1, do you have a lucky charm?
I used to wear a bee pendant around my neck. But I mean, the day that I had my bike, I wasn't wearing that. So maybe it's a lucky charm. I don't actually know where it went, I Violet, the bunny that I travel
that you
with.
take with you.
Yes,
Yeah.
she's been to like every major games since March of 2016 when I her.
That's awesome. I love that. So many people have said no, and then we kind of get into like, are you superstitious? Is there anything? And I was like, I definitely was superstitious. I was like, if I had that thing in my pocket, who knows what it was? I would want it there again for the next day because it went well.
I can understand, definitely. Hopefully my competitors aren't listening. I am a superstitious human.
Okay.
Like when I would play basketball and I discovered the phrase, like, not in a rude way, but the phrase touch wood, if you like something, and
I like that you specified not in the rude way.
Have to make sure now.
That was awesome. That was
awesome. But I would
touch wood,
like down to touch wood,
Yeah.
I would like reach down and tort every time I thought of something. And actually, funnily enough, now that I have epilepsy, but the thought you were having seizures because you kept reaching down and touching.
Oh,
I did not. I
yes.
was not having.
That's
So
funny.
I can laugh now.
Mistaken. That's funny. Okay, number 2, what is the favorite place that you travel to for either biking or bobsled? And then also just, another one for pleasure.
Mm, it's a big question. I think like Innsbruck, Austria, is a bobsleigh pit place.
What about St.
Eagles. It
Moritz?
has. I was also gonna say St. Moritz. You
Okay,
like
sorry, Innsbruck.
you really go against St. Moritz. Like, I mean, all of the things about the wealthy and like
So
spending time
pretty.
and set. There's a reason. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry, I
and it
interrupted
has a
you
good
with,
track.
Innsbruck.
Oh no, St. Moritz and Innsbruck. Whistler actually also is like
Oh,
one of my favorite tracks. Like a big, fast slide. Whereas Lake
you know,
Placid is like you're in a washing machine.
I like that you're explaining that because I've never been down a bobsled track, and I don't think I could now because of my crash. I think all the rattling would not be great.
Mm, I can
So
understand that too.
I know, right? Oh my gosh. Okay, and then what about pleasure, like just on vacay?
Honestly, my dad lives in England, and so I spent a
Yeah,
lot of time there as a kid, and probably, and yeah, like
I love it
the South
there
Coast.
too.
London proper is like a lot of humans,
A bit much. It's a lot of humans.
but
The South Coast,
the
whereabouts on
South
the South Coast?
in Sussex, teeny town called
Cool.
Selsey, which between Portsmouth
Yeah,
and Brighton, maybe. Anyway,
cool. Very
yeah,
cool. I love it there. It's a little bit underrated.
I would
Okay, moving on.
agree with that.
Uh, totally underrated. Don't tell anyone, world. We're gonna see everyone going there now.
I
Sorry
with
about
my daughter being from GB. We can't discuss that. We'll
that.
hear your place. Sorry.
A lot of the Paralympians are like beautiful British Columbia. That's like where they want to be and want to stay, and I get it because it's called beautiful for a reason. Um,
It's bag on your license plates.
of course we do.
Or
Number
like
3,
wild rose over.
yeah, where in the world are you today?
In beautiful British Columbia in Vancouver.
Nice. Um, are you a big city or small town kind of gal?
Small town.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, when you're in the gym, do you like to have headphones on or do you like to like hear yourself working out?
I'm a huge headphone person.
Yeah.
People for sure think that I'm a lunatic because you don't talk to Katie with her headphones.
Okay,
Ironically, I'm wearing them right now, but
totally fair. Thanks. Um, do you have a favorite race ever, be it bobsled or cycling? I mean, you've been
oh,
through a lot.
um, I don't know. I think one of the races that I really loved was, uh, despite all of negative publicity surrounding Sochi, we went there for the 2013 to test out the track at a cup
Mhm.
beforehand, and it Coral and I like worked super well. So I thought, but
Yeah.
and it was just like a fight to get to the top, and we didn't place at any point.
Yeah.
Um, but it was a matter of the fact that we liked doing the sport, and we were sort of competing with each other and for each other um,
Yeah.
at our highest placing. And like I just remember it was in, and we were in this new place and trying out this track. Theoretically, we were both going to be going to it for the Sochi 2014 Winter Olympic. Yeah, that was a really good.
Yeah, nice. And then cycling?
Ooh.
You're wild that you go in that thing.
in a bobsleigh or on a bike?
All of the
velodrome?
Both, actually. I thought velodrome, and then I didn't even think about bobsled, and I was like, also wild.
Stories surrounding that. I got made fun of a lot. Terrified of a velodrome, and they're like, "You bobsleigh? What's wrong with you?" But hopefully London, there was World Champ in 2016, and just before the games, and I had highest placing in match and like little new velodrome track cycling in the UK and in Europe is much like Bob's thing. And so I fan people at the entrance of the velodrome, and I'm like, why are you talking to me?
Awesome.
And it's a beautiful velodrome. So.
Yes. So different than being in Canada, where people like, they know who you are, but they'll just like whisper it to their friend and won't actually say anything to you. You're like, I'm human. You can talk to me. It's okay.
See you right there talking about it as I walk past.
Oh my gosh. So before we pressed record, I was talking about your fiance, and you guys picked up your wedding dresses today. Did you both get dresses?
We did. Yeah, we're going against the grain.
No,
We're
I like
both
it.
to be brides. Bridezealous, so what are you gonna do
As
with
you
that?
should be. Number 6, where did you guys meet? For the listeners that may not know.
We met on the cycling team. It's long before we were partners.
Yeah. I like that story though.
Yeah.
So cool. Number 7, what would be the top place to train in Canada? Is there a velodrome in Canada? Yeah, in Milton, right?
In Milton.
Is that
Everyone should
random
know
that it's
about
in
Milton.
Milton?
It was for the Pan Am Games, and they were like the Toronto Games, but they didn't really have space in Toronto to put a giant building with a weird track in it, so they plunked it just outside of Toronto in Milton.
Why not?
It's lovely. It's a good place to train for.
Okay, so other than Canada, where's the best place to train?
Ooh, like where's my favorite place to train for anything?
Yeah.
For traveling, for bobsleigh?
Yeah.
I mean, as much as bobsleigh track is like being in a washing machine, that's
Sell me on that one at all.
there.
But that's your favorite to train in? Why?
Well, I like the washing machine thing. It's like
Okay.
get hit injuries in bobsleigh. Yeah, and then I don't know, they have good food. They have like sketchiest little gym that we went to in the basement of this weird, like
I don't
I
think
don't
I
even
ever
know
went to
exactly.
that gym.
Yeah.
We went there in like 2002, and I was like, what is this compound? It was so kind of ghetto with like, I mean, thank you, Lake Placid, for hosting us. But I was just like, that was my first time in like an Olympic, I guess, old Olympic place. And with the dorm rooms and then the like common room eating area, I was like, is this what it's like to be at college or university? Is that what you felt? That's what I felt.
So they didn't put our team into the like area. They put us into a hotel.
Bougie.
I know. We don't put up with
You're bougie. Just say it. It's okay.
That's right. Bougie. Was the fact that one of the
I had to stay
boys'
in a
teams
dorm.
had to eat. The guys' teams, I remember sitting in a restaurant in that hotel, and they were grumpy, this 4-man team. because they just eat iceberg lettuce because they wait for like, because it's a
Do we
gravity
know these
sport, so
people?
you have to make. We
Who
do.
were they? Can you
It was
say?
Justin
Okay.
Cripps's foreman.
Yes. Amazing.
And they were so grumpy eating iceberg lettuce
Just hangry.
leaves. Yeah,
Oh my
as
gosh.
like we're eating sandwiches, trying to bulk up, and they were like chewing on this. Yeah, it was.
I love it. Lake
Yeah.
Placid. Okay, favorite place to train, Lake Placid. Oh, makes me cry. Brings back so many memories. See, I told you these are never rapid. It's awesome. Number 8, if you're not training, what can people find you doing?
I nap a lot.
I've taken to napping too lately.
Mm,
It's pretty good.
positive.
I actually texted
Um,
Megan to see if you were still available for this, and she said you were probably napping.
and she was correct.
I love her.
I do too. That's, keep her. I'll keep her.
Hence the wedding. You guys are great together. Napping? What else? Do you like any other sports, or do you like camping?
Um, I like camping of
Mhm.
it, but the like tent, but like I don't know. There's
Any?
I play guitar well, but
Oh,
that's
cool.
like something that I occasionally do. Mm, we have 2 dogs. They're not actually puppies anymore. They're like 2 years old.
Yeah.
They're very high maintenance and demand
Oh,
a lot of attention, and
what kind are they?
they're both rescues.
Oh, like a mix
To
of
like put it in,
je
they're
ne sais
like
pas.
16 pounds, and like Wawa, Yorkie, all like little
Everything.
yappy things. I love them, but
Awesome. Dog walks all the way.
they're like epic dog walks. Like I think that between them and Megan, they're gonna try and turn sprint, and it's not gonna happen.
You're like, I'm a sprinter, remember?
Yeah, I don't
Number
do that.
9. Number 9. How did the pandemic change your training?
Um, Man, it seems like it started years ago.
I know.
But yeah, it was like a pretty big change. I mean, first off, the games from when they
Yeah, the
were
whole year.
met to the next year, which was good in some cases. Yeah, it is doing a sport that requires you to be in a small space, like in a velodrome, is definitely not
Right.
friendly, or it is
Friendly.
COVID friendly.
Yeah.
I guess that's the issue. So that was like then
It is
just
COVID
staying.
friendly.
We love COVID at the
You're
velodrome.
come get COVID at the velodrome. Okay. Wait, were you allowed to go train as a team there?
No, so I was the innate, as they're now known, not able-bodied. Who'd have thought? The enabled team has their hub at the velodrome, but because no one else was part of that hub, we couldn't go there because it was going to be like coming to bubble.
Okay, wait. Rewind. The enabled team.
Yes. Yeah.
Is that which team is that?
The able-bodied team. But I guess Megan
Okay.
told me that
We're
it's
not
no
allowed to
longer
say that
PC
anymore.
able-bodied. I still do
Yeah.
because I can't
Okay.
remember what they're called.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is good to know. I'm learning. I
That's
love learning.
well,
Thank
that's
you,
good.
Megan. Where is she?
I know. She's home soon. I'm
Is
sure
she on
the
her way
dogs will
home?
go nuts.
Okay. Perfect. Bring them in. Okay, so you couldn't go because they were there. Did you go anywhere else during the pandemic to train?
No, I was so Cycling Canada, like the para side. Basically, to rewind, because I am her, I don't do
Yeah.
this like road cycling for 6 hours at a time,
Sounds awful.
which
Sounds
is the
awful.
thank you. And
We're like the same. My sport took 30 seconds.
yeah, mine takes 30 too slow, and that like is exhausting. I did bobsleigh, which was 6 seconds for a push. So, there you go.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, so I basically just, because I'm riding, which is kind of the one place that you could, go without
Train.
COVID
Yeah.
things being outside.
Yeah.
But I couldn't go to the track. So I just stayed in our with like and the para team sent some Eleco weights and this like somewhat terrifying teeny squat rack, which is good if you're using 60
Not a lot of
kilos, but
weight.
not good 160 kilos.
Did it break?
Well, close.
Did it?
Megan usually taught me.
I'm also wondering, like, how much did it cost to send weights in the mail? But we don't need to get into that. But
Yeah.
that's like where my athlete mind goes, and I'm like,
Mhm.
because I know you couldn't get weights anywhere in a store because they were just selling out.
Yeah, it was.
So props to them, but let's.
Yeah, and our
It's
like
must be
living
expensive.
on the 4th floor apartment building at the time.
Did you have
I don't
stairs?
think that
An elevator?
we had, well, it had, like, we moved from it. It has an elevator, which, and sometimes didn't.
The
And
delivery man had to carry them up.
so yeah, we ended up just having to move them like everywhere by hand, but then you couldn't leave them set up in the apartment because bedroom, and it was just like an open space that was like 400 square feet. And so, yeah, that was I didn't think that we ever left apartment for a year and a half. Like, even to get groceries, everything was ordering was, yeah.
And you're getting married. You guys made it.
Oh, there were times. There were times.
You have 2 dogs for a reason. One of you takes one of them takes the other.
Yeah, true. Yeah. It's
Oh my
Odin,
gosh.
the first is definitely Megan's because
Okay.
he's the endurance one, and Ring has like little spurts of energy and then naps the time. So he's mine.
There we go. Perfect. All right, last non-rapid fire question. I love it. Number 10, you've talked about imposter syndrome going into the Paralympic Games. How did it actually feel once you were at the Paralympic Games? Did that shed off, or were you still a little imposter syndrome?
That's like
That's a deep
a good
question, isn't
question to. I feel like I'm in therapy now. So then I was
it?
feeling.
I think every athlete
Doctor,
gets imposter syndrome, but yours is like such a different experience.
it was, yeah. So I've always had imposter. I was going to like post-secondary big time because I was this like bobsled athlete doing this stupid, terrifying sport one is not mainstream and no one could understand. Going to the lab every night to look at cells. If that's not an imposter, then what is? Then with para, I think I did, like you said so kindly in my interview, I didn't say no to things, so I always thought, well, I can go back to doing. I didn't ever see disabilities as up to the level that they need to be, like crippled para athlete. I saw it, and not as downplaying there, but I just felt like I was cheating the system.
Yeah.
And so when I was classification for para sports, and that's where they make sure that you're not cheating the system by,
Yeah.
looking at your medical exams. And when I was first classified, chips was like, well, I get play acted my way to like cheating them out of thinking that I, like, because
And
really,
so wait, what was your classification?
so para sports, I'm still learning. Every
There's a
event,
lot to learn.
yeah. So para sports.
You are here to teach us, my friend.
Where's my whiteboard?
Yeah.
So basically, just to go at the cycling route
Yeah.
is there's like different. So there's cyclists. So if you think of people who have like paraplegic, for example, and they lay back, don't do
Right.
anything, they cycle with their hands. They have impressive upper bodies and can go really fast.
Okay.
Like tricycles. So that's for like people with issues.
Yeah.
And then there's the various, what they call like regular bike, which is what I'm on. And it's just as your average track bike, which is regular bike.
Which
as
no
an
one
aside.
owns.
Yeah. A fixed gear, pedaling, has no brakes,
Danger. It's just okay.
And so basically those are a classification from C1 and so C5, to put it, in the most way, is the least disabled. C1 is the most. So up.
Okay.
So they thought for sure going to be a C5, if anything, and they really have a hard time getting classified. Like you might not be classifiable, in which case you can't compare. And they said, well, you did cycling and athletics so long, and it was such a big part of your rehabilitation, you might be able to make your way to looking like you don't. And so when I went in for classification, will she get classified? Will she not? If I didn't, I would have been sent home, which is understandable. But
would that not have been heartbreaking though?
it would have been, but then I wouldn't have felt like an imposter.
Okay, right.
But
then would you have gone
yeah,
like Olympic again? Like, would you been able to do that?
it's hard. I think
I don't know. I don't know what the times of cycling are. The velodrome, it
basically,
baffles my mind.
it's very odd. That's still my goal, to enabled sport as well as para, but para is like where my heart lies now. But I ended up being classified as a C4. So I was 4 disabled.
Is this because of the epilepsy or is this because of the head?
So my epilepsy from my head injury, but epilepsy is not a para thing. You
Okay.
can't just because you have epilepsy in
Okay,
any
so
sport. It doesn't.
how did you get this
Doesn't.
classification?
It's because I have from my head injury, like hemiparesis, which basically
No idea what
means
that
one
means.
side. Hemiparesis. No. It
Doesn't
basically
everybody
means
know? They
hemiparesis.
will now.
Basically one side. So the right side of my body, because it was my brain that got bumped.
Yeah.
The right body doesn't work as well neurologically as the left side, and
Okay.
so it's basically someone who's had a stroke, and like
Yeah.
one side body is, so that's basically and that you don't have to have that specific to be classes, but that's just one. Basically, 2 limbs affected puts you as or.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do like they on the website they do good descriptions of like the classifications as well.
Bad
Sort
about
of?
that because I often have to look them up because I'm like, what am I again? What is
Right.
this? But yeah,
Okay.
so then I ended up being rated at Tokyo at the Velo, and because I had a
At the
follow
games?
up to my class. Yeah.
Shut up.
So yeah, they you start training and then
Okay.
you downstairs for your follow up appointment and reclassified me and certified me as C4. So theoretically, I shouldn't have
Wait,
to be
you were a
reclassified.
C4.
Yeah, so they
You
kept
were
me
a
the
C4.
same.
Oh, I thought they were going to do something drastic.
They they could you could be not classifiable. You could so this
Wait, but
all
you could be at
also
the games. You could be at the games and then they like check you and then they're like, "Meh, not today."
Yep.
Ooh, I bet you so many people didn't know that. I didn't know that. How many people know that? That's ridiculous.
It's I also just know part of the story. I did NAS for athletics.
Okay.
Like in Langley in Vancouver, so for track and field, and that requires classification. They can't just use your classification from
Okay.
and that was also basically cycling also seemed to have a thing where any neurological things, traumatic brain injury,
Yeah.
it doesn't always stay the same. It's like
Right.
up or down, but might swing. So
Right.
as I was
Yeah.
classified as a 37, but any 30s always under review. So every competition they will look at you between. So you could have
Because
trained.
it could
Mhm.
interesting. Interesting.
And so that's basically what it was like for leading into Tokyo. And then I felt even more like an imposter when I reclassified as a C4 at the games. So
Why they just like they said it again. You didn't
I know,
change.
but then
You didn't
I think I'm
get
such a
better.
good actor.
Oh my gosh. Bless your heart. Bless your heart. You are one in a million. Well, we only
Thanks.
just finished the rapid fire. I can tell you that much. It's never rapid. That was awesome. I do want to talk about the difference from Olympics and Paralympics and your experiences there. Like Paralympics is such a different ball game, but very similar, right? Like, but now you're training with a whole different crew.
Yes, it's
Winter to summer.
it's also big difference. I was like, what is this heat thing? Hot and so what bobsleigh track cycling was a big change, but
But the Rio Games, like you have that like the Rio Games, you know what it's like to be at the Olympics for Team Canada. I think Team Canada does such a great job at the Olympics of like getting Team Canada to be like this family. I know it's different at the summer games because there's so many athletes. What were the similarities and what were some differences from Olympics to Paralympics for you, would you say?
they are very, very similar.
Cool.
Be totally honest, a big thing parasite that I have found in like my honest experience that in Team Canada, like any team that I've been a part of has never up to the cohesiveness and work that the para team, like it's easily the best team. and
Wow.
the Paralympic games were similar. So
Yeah.
they like a vibe that you just like. I'm very, very grateful that I got to that and
Yeah.
read all the flack that they took for their poor games.
They did.
It was really good. They did a really good job, and Tokyo did an amazing job as well. But I think there's about being part of, it seemed almost like the teams were a team, which at the Para
Awesome.
Games.
Yeah. And when you're in the village, at the Para Games, is the team just that much smaller?
Yes. So Tokyo was a bit funny. Velodrome was outside. We were in a satellite village.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was outside of the main village just because it was up in the mountains. So we had a better view as far as I'm concerned.
And it might have been
But
cooler, right? Would have been cooler up there? Because it was
not
really
sure.
hot. Okay. I think it was
It's very
cooler. I
hot.
remember. Yeah, it was hot then. But is it air conditioned in the velodrome?
So that's about a velodrome. It can be, but
Okay.
the hotter it is, so they try and keep it hot.
Oh my god. Do you ever pass out in that?
A lot of you see, it's funny because you see all the coaches up on the apron, like, which is just the bottom of the velodrome track with their little
Yeah.
fan measuring the wind flow and like the temperature, what equipment you use, and like, yeah, it's pretty funny.
We are getting the inside scoop, the things I did not know about. I've had Georgia on, and I don't know. I didn't know. I hadn't watched Velodrome before, and I have so much respect for you guys. It's what?
We'll
Okay,
get you
so
on
it's
a
got to be
velodrome soon.
hot.
Yes, it has
Oh my
to be
god.
hot and like not. It's a very odd sport. Like I bobsleigh had a lot of
That's
equipment,
interesting.
but honestly, cycling, like track cycling, is there has to be like a hot velodrome, and they're very about what doors can open in a drum because it affects the
Of the
airflow.
airflow.
And
Oh.
so, and then like be faster, probably in training, like not probably not because you're not using the same equipment and you're doing all of these fancy things, but theoretically training has faster air movement people on the track who are like this circulating thing, whereas when
Right.
you're by yourself on the track during competition you don't have that.
Wait, so the people make you faster or slower?
The people circulating the air because they're also on the track makes it faster
Yeah, okay.
in competition or
Wild.
in
Now
training.
now
Sorry, see, I'm
because
using
you biked before your accident, I do wanna talk about your skull being, off of your head because I think that's pretty drastic. Um, would you if you were to compare like, your memory is good, like, you have a good memory. W would you compare biking before and biking now in the velodrome? Do you see drastic differences?
it's hard to say. I'm also in my old age, in my 30s, you know.
You're still
It's,
young.
thanks. I hear that people who say I act childish, but I'm okay with it. But I differences for sure. And like I definitely am not as fast I once was, but that's a lot of that could have to do with training. And so
Okay.
back, like when I was first starting up, when all the
Mhm.
doctors were saying, "Don't do this,"
Yeah.
I found it challenging because like my center gravity was a bit different because of my weird sighted weakness, and I lost
Yeah.
hearing in one of my ears, and so
Okay.
that had like a huge balance.
Mm-hmm.
But then once I've kind of don't really feel that different, I like,
How much is gone in your right ear?
yeah, it's all gone.
The whole thing.
Yeah, it's
Oh, that's hard to. My brother grew up
the
like that, but that's hard to change in your lifestyle.
he's like semi hearing impaired,
No,
or
left ear is nothing. He's got nothing in his left ear, but he was born
interesting.
like that, so he
Interesting.
doesn't really know any better. But when we sit around a
Mm.
table, we always forget which side not to sit on.
This
You know
happens
what
a
I mean?
lot with me, and so if I don't want to hear what he's saying, and I'm
You
hearing
can
aids,
be
I'm just
strategic.
like, what? Sorry. Yeah, basically my broken basal skull went through my like nerve canal, and so that was
Okay.
that.
Okay, and let's talk about the skull, because when your skull was obviously taken out for pressure, right?
Mhm.
And when they take it out, there's an option. It's weird that I know this because my friend got hit by a truck and she had something similar where they took it out, but they can either put it in a glass jar or put it in your body,
The body
right?
thing, yes. The body thing, creep the F out. Like,
Me too.
what is that weird bump in your stomach? Oh, it's my skull. Yeah.
I don't know how you explain that to people. I'm just carrying my skull. No biggie.
I was tired of having it in my head, so,
Oh,
a
so
traitor skull, and,
so what did you opt for? Not the stomach.
So in in fairness, luckily, for my sake, I didn't opt for anything because I was out of it.
Oh, okay.
Vision to was my poor mom and Megan and my friend Kath
Bless their hearts.
all had to. Yeah, I guess that they initially, okay, she's fine. Like, we'll put her in the ICU, and she should be.
Yeah.
We have like a pressure monitor in her brain. Stick it in there. I don't know how they do it. But we'll keep an eye on it. And if the pressure gets too high, then we'll have to like figure something out. And
Yeah.
so then that night, the pressure got too high. The neurosurgeons were, and they said, this is an unusual thing. It's kind of our only option. Do you consent to this? To my mom?
Yeah.
That's what they did. So and they took out this piece of skull and put it in a Ziploc, buried it in foil or something, and threw it into the fridge at the Foothills Hospital for
So wild. So wild. And then then the option is to have that be put back in or a prosthetic.
Yes. So they offer a prosthetic. They prefer to put your
Okay.
own bone back in if there's any being alive, being able to, whatever that is.
Okay.
It,
Yeah.
it will never be the same, but basically, like for me, there's always a risk of eventually just like it doesn't ever grow back together. So it
Okay.
might just wear out from what they've used with their fancy screws and all of that.
Wait,
And
what?
if that's the yeah, I have like
Like
you know
no, but it'll
some
wear out? What do you mean? Like the stuff that's holding it
I
together will wear out and then
like
your skull will fall out. I don't under tell me, tell me, tell me.
I'm sure this is where I should bring Megan in if she's um yeah, basically like you don't nothing like there's
It's
nothing living
attached.
in your bone, but it detached to itself, so
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
it can just sort of disintegrate a little bit.
Okay. Okay.
And
I'm gonna be watching your
it's not
skull,
like,
my friend.
thanks. I
I'm
think
worried. I'm worried.
it's still good though.
Oh my goodness. Does that
Putting
hurt? Touching
no,
it? Is it
no,
numb?
funny feeling at the incision, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I can feel
Wow.
like the little Tiffany jewels they put in. But
What does that mean,
yeah,
Tiffany jewels? Oh, like,
I
the
know.
hardware. The
Yeah, I
screws. You can feel the
call
screws.
them Tiffany jewels because it makes me sound fancy.
I
So
absolutely respect that completely, as you should.
yeah, they
Oh
would put
my gosh.
it through like a fancy carbon thing if they
Okay,
ever
cool.
discovered that the bone didn't stick, but fine so far.
Amazing. Oh, well, you've been through a lot, my friend, and you got a silver at the Para Games. Are you looking to keep it going? And you did talk about Olympics again. What do we expect?
So you're like the
Is it day by day?
first one to hear. It is day by day. I'm aiming for, we have world championship for para in Paris this year in October, and then
Yeah,
there's Olympic Games in Paris in 2024, which are definitely what I'm aiming for. So I'm
aiming for.
like holding on until then. I'm getting
Yeah.
into this like track and field, and
Okay.
that my like big sort of underlying goal is to as I said, I have for being a para athlete, and I'll
Mhm.
always consider myself a para athlete.
Yeah.
But being part of able-bodied team and
Yeah.
doing Olympics, Paralympics in Paris would be the big goal. So
Okay, so what would you in Paris, you
mhm.
would do Olympics and Paralympics
That would be is like
in
I
cycling.
say because
In
yes, and
cycling.
so yeah.
Dude, that's freaking rad. Has anyone ever done that before?
I don't know.
I'm
I
sure
think
like
it's
some other reporter will figure that out and be like, "This is groundbreaking." But for me, it's freaking groundbreaking because you're my friend and I think that's amazing.
thanks. Yeah, I have no idea if it will happen. It's
What
sort of a
an
good because
amazing goal though.
yeah, I'm not aiming for more letters
Yeah.
behind my name and be like two-time Olympian, two-time
Mhm.
Paralympic. It's more just do what I am trying to do in the Paralympics.
Mhm.
If I could get back to having my starting 50 meters be as it was, that would be very helpful for my 500.
Yeah.
And
Sick.
if that was fast, could go back to doing, I mean, obviously, a lot of competition from the rest of the Canadian cycling team, but go back to
Yeah.
being starter, which is what I got the Pan American record in. So
I'm so hyped for you. This is awesome. You have like you've come through so much and to follow your journey is something everyone should be doing because you're so inspiring and I love
uh,
the athleticism of not saying like there's no. There's just yes
well,
to most things.
it's, it's very kind. That's like a big thing. If I don't want to interrupt, the questions,
No.
but I was getting the one thing, sort of a huge message that I'm learning in my old age slash with my injuries and you probably know amateur athletics is really not what you think. Like people who go into amateur athletics thinking, oh, this is going to be so fun and do these things and it's all great. an amazing, like there are times where, to put it bluntly, it fucking sucks. Like,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of difficulty with, friends and coaching and money. And I think in bobsleigh, I did it because I loved it. And first recruited to track cycling, I did it because I loved it. As I got, more experienced and old, and I didn't like it anymore. I want to do track cycling.
Yeah.
With this kind of being forced out of the game for a couple of my injury, that I thought, I do miss this actual sport. So I'll go back into it, but I'm not getting sucked back into
The
this
drama
stuff.
and the politics.
And it definitely wasn't easy. And,
You're
Cycling
not
Canada,
alone out there. Can I just tell you that? Because I remember I spoke to a plethora of the Rio athletes after 2016 and was on a panel, and I looked at the room and I said, you all have one thing in common. You hate your national sport organization. Everyone looked at each other and laughed. And I was like, yeah, it's not easy for any of us. But I've been chair of the Athletes Council for Canada Snowboard for 6 years to try and be like, remember, you're here for the athletes. You have this because of the athletes. And so I think if we have more people like that kind of trying to make things better, it will make a big difference in the long run, but it's going to take a while.
I agree. Yeah. And I think that's like, it's hard. And I'm sure too, with your injuries and stuff, when your team want you back. Like I was
You're
a
not the priority.
huge liability. Really want anything to do with me. I don't even really think I got the feeling. We can only say certain things based on, athlete agreements and stuff.
Yeah.
Like they didn't quite a challenge for me to get back on that
I
team.
can't wait till you're back.
And
I can't. Stick it to them.
well, thanks.
That's what I like.
Yeah.
They told me that I had to retire. They're like, you should retire, the doctor and the high performance manager. And I was like, I'm gonna have to get you guys to stay positive here. Like, you're not kicking me off the team.
And then they're like pulling. They're like, please just leave.
I'm not going anywhere. Oh gosh, good times.
Yeah.
Isn't it fun being an athlete?
Times.
There is a
It
reason
is
we
super.
stay in it. It's because it's a passion and we do love it until we don't anymore, and then we move on.
Yeah. And I think that's like a huge thing, is it's also okay to be and be like an up and come and be like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And just to say, have to do it. Like you're not, so much is put on, having, as I said, these like letters behind degrees or OLY or PLY.
You have a lot of letters. You have at least 6 letters that I know of behind your name.
Thanks. Kate is such a
OLY
short
and
first
PLY.
name. Yeah, I have, BSc, MSc, if you really wanted to get into those.
You have more letters than your name, which is fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I thank you so much for sharing your experiences. And honestly, you're one of the only people that I think I know that has done an Olympics and a Paralympics, and kind of figuring out the differences between them and the similarities and what you're up to next. It's just inspiring for all of us to keep listening and following. So where can people follow you online if they'd like to see what you're up to?
I am on Instagram as empty. There's a big story
Why
behind
is it empty, Kate?
that. During
I was like,
bobsleigh, during bobsleigh, I was wearing a hoodie, and the boys came and like to this little like, I don't know, like
a
closed in thing. My pilot, Jenny, posted that picture on her Instagram, and her friend commented, "Aw, empty Kate." And then the comment underneath was, "Oh, Kate, it auto
Oh,
corrected. And so then when I joined, yeah. So now I'm just
it
empty
had to be
case.
empty. I like
Yeah.
that
And then
story.
Twitter is the same. So I think I'm a Kate on Twitter. So
Keep it the same. Keep it the same. Anything else you want to share with our listeners and viewers?
no, I am super, super grateful. You're like, we're friends, but you're one of my idols. You're like such a little human, just saying.
Oh, thank
And
you.
so, yeah, I was very happy to come. I'm so open to anyone reaching and, asking questions or asking, what's my favorite sandwich, or because I think, yeah,
And you'll do speaking engagements too, right?
promise they'll be amazing,
Oh, yeah.
but I'll ramble.
I'm
I'm good at
pretty
that.
sure they're gonna be amazing. What your story is amazing. Thank you, Kate, so much for dropping in, and I can't wait to have you on again. This was so fun.
Thanks so much.
Thanks so much for dropping in today. You can find everything you want to know about Dropping In with Mercedes at droppinginwithmercedes.com. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Thanks DJ Kenosis for the music and my mom for the intro voice.